Good evening. Welcome to our fourth story in the Shire Chronicles, Sanctuary in the Hills. Let's begin. The soft glow of dawn crept over the edges of Renhold's rooftops as Orlen tightened the straps of his satchel, his fingers trembling slightly in the cool morning air. The events of the previous night clung to him like a shadow. Cyrana's warning about the relics, the shadow's relentless pursuit, and the harrowing hours in the safe house. He glanced toward Adric, who stood a few paces ahead, his staff planted firmly in the cobblestones as he scanned the horizon. Cyrana emerged from the doorway, her blade sheathed but her eyes sharp and alert. "We'll take the southern road," she said, her voice cutting through the stillness. "The hills will offer cover, and the old paths should be clear enough for travel." Orlen adjusted his satchel and nodded, though his heart sank at the thought of leaving the relative safety of Renhold for the unknown wilderness. Adric gave him a reassuring pat on the shoulder. "Stick close, Orlen. We've made it this far. We can handle a bit of rough country." Orlen mustered a weak smile, though he couldn't shake the unease that gripped him. The trio slipped quietly out of the city, their footsteps muffled on the damp cobblestones. The southern gate was unguarded at this hour, its iron hinges groaning softly as they pushed through. Beyond lay a narrow dirt road that wound its way through rolling fields, the grass glistening with dew. The air was crisp and carried the faint scent of wildflowers, a reminder of the peaceful lands they were leaving behind. For a time, they walked in silence, the rhythmic crunch of their boots on the path, the only sound. Orlen found his gaze drawn to the horizon, where the hills rose like dark sentinels against the pale morning sky. "These hills," Orlen said, breaking the quiet, "are they part of the old lands Cyrana mentioned?" Cyrana nodded, her expression distant. The southern hills were once home to the keepers, or so the texts suggest. They were said to guard a sanctuary here, hidden deep within the land. Adric raised an eyebrow. "And you believe we'll find it?" Cyrana's gaze hardened. "I believe we have no choice but to try." As the sun climbed higher, the road grew rougher, its edges lined with thorny brambles and clusters of wild rosemary. The fields gave way to patches of dense woodland, the trees stretching their gnarled branches over the path as though sheltering it from prying eyes. Orlen couldn't help but feel a sense of quiet foreboding, as though the forest itself was aware of their presence. "These woods feel different," he said, glancing at Cyrana. "Almost like they're watching us." Cyrana gave a faint smile, though it didn't reach her eyes. "The southern lands are old, Orlen. They've seen more than you or I can imagine. It's said the keepers left their mark on the land, shaping it to protect what they held sacred." They pressed on, the light filtering through the trees growing dappled and uneven. By midday, they reached the base of the first hill, its slopes covered in thick undergrowth. Cyrana paused, her hand resting on the hilt of her blade as she scanned the terrain. "We'll take the ridge path," she said. "It's steeper, but it'll keep us hidden from the main road." Orlen groaned inwardly at the thought of climbing, but he followed without complaint. Adric, ever curious, began pointing out bits of flora along the way, clusters of bluebell flowers, patches of moss that shimmered faintly in the light. "Amazing what thrives out here," he said, his voice tinged with admiration. "Even in the shadow of history, life finds a way." The climb was arduous, the uneven ground and thick roots forcing them to move slowly. Orlen's legs ached and his breath came in short gasps, but he pressed on, spurred by the determination in Cyrana's stride. At last they reached a plateau near the top, where a small clearing offered a brief reprieve. Cyrana unslung her pack and knelt to inspect the ground, her fingers brushing over a patch of stone etched with faint markings. "This is it," she murmured. We're close. Orlen dropped his pack and leaned against a tree, grateful for the chance to rest. Adric crouched beside Cyrana, his eyes wide with curiosity. What do these symbols mean? He asked. Cyrana traced the carvings with her fingertip, her brow furrowed in concentration. They're part of the Keeper's Code, she said. A language of symbols used to mark their paths and sanctuaries. This one, she pointed to a spiral, indicates protection. We're on the right track. The sound of rustling leaves snapped them to attention, their hands instinctively moving to their weapons. Orlen's heart pounded as the bushes at the edge of the clearing shook, and a figure emerged. For a moment, he feared it was the shadow from the safe house, but as the figure stepped into the light, he saw it was a man, his clothes ragged and his face drawn with exhaustion. Please, the man said, his voice hoarse. I mean no harm. Cyrana stepped forward cautiously, her blade still at her side. Who are you? She asked, her tone firm but not unkind. The man raised his hands in a gesture of peace. My name is Calen, he said. I've been wandering these hills, searching for something, but it seems I've found you instead. The man stood just beyond the edge of the clearing, his thin frame barely holding itself upright. Cyrana kept her blade low but ready, her sharp eyes studying his every movement. Adric stepped forward cautiously, his staff held loosely but at the ready, while Orlen hung back, his fingers hovering near the straps of his satchel. I mean no harm, Calen repeated, his voice rasping as though it hadn't been used in days. Please, I've been searching, wandering. I have no fight left in me. Cyrana lowered her blade slightly, though her stance remained firm. Searching for what? She asked, her tone calm but edged with suspicion. Calen hesitated, his sunken eyes darting between them. The sanctuary, he said at last. I've heard the whispers. It's here, in these hills. I was told it holds answers. Adric's brow furrowed and he glanced at Cyrana. That doesn't sound like the kind of thing most travelers stumble across, he said quietly. Cyrana took a slow step forward. Who sent you here, Calen? And how do you know of the sanctuary? The man flinched slightly, as if the words stung him. No one sent me, he said, his voice defensive but weary. I followed the signs, the stories. They all pointed to this place. I thought I could find it before. His voice trailed off, and he turned his gaze to the ground. Orlen couldn't help but feel a pang of pity for the man. He looked as though he hadn't eaten in days, his clothes little more than tattered rags clinging to a frail body. Before what? Cyrana pressed, her voice firmer now. Calen swallowed hard, his throat working visibly. Before they did, he whispered. The shadows. The word sent a chill through the clearing, and Orlen's grip on his satchel tightened instinctively. Cyrana's eyes narrowed, her blade rising slightly once more. You've seen them? She asked. Calen nodded, his face pale. They've been hunting me, he said. Every time I get close, they find me. I thought I could outrun them in these hills, but they always come back. Adric stepped closer to Cyrana, his voice low. If he's telling the truth, the shadows might not be far behind. Cyrana didn't reply immediately, her eyes fixed on Calen. At last she sheathed her blade with a sharp click and motioned for the man to come forward. If the shadows are following you, they'll follow us too, she said. You'll come with us, for now, but if you're lying, know that you won't make it far. Calen nodded quickly, relief washing over his face. Thank you, he murmured. They gave Calen a bit of water and bread, which he devoured hungrily. though his eyes remained darting and anxious. Once he had regained some strength, Cyrana led the group onward, following the faint markings etched into the stones and trees. The path grew narrower and more treacherous, winding its way through dense undergrowth and jagged rocks. Orlen found himself glancing over his shoulder often, half expecting to see the shifting form of the shadow trailing them. Each time the path remained empty, though the uneasy feeling in his chest refused to fade. As they climbed a steep ridge, the group paused to rest, the late afternoon sun casting long shadows over the hills. Calen sat apart from the others, his head bowed as he cradled a flask of water. Adric joined him, his curiosity outweighing his caution. "What exactly are you hoping to find in the sanctuary?" he asked. Calen didn't look up immediately, his fingers tightening around the flask. I don't know," he admitted. "I was told it held power, answers to things I didn't understand. All my life I've felt drawn to places like this, places where the air feels heavy, where the past lingers. But the shadows, they come for me whenever I get close. I thought if I could find the sanctuary, I could make them stop." Adric frowned. "The shadows don't just hunt anyone. They're tied to the relics, to the Keeper's secrets. If they're after you, then you've stumbled into something far bigger than you realize." Calen looked up at him then, his eyes hollow but filled with a desperate hope. "And you? Why are you here?" Adric glanced toward Cyrana, who was crouched over another stone marker, her brow furrowed in concentration. "We're here for answers too," he said simply. "And if we find them, maybe we can help you as well." Their rest was short-lived. Cyrana called them back to the trail, her voice sharp. "We're close," she said, pointing to a faint outline in the distance. Orlen squinted, his breath catching as he saw it, a weathered archway, half buried in the hillside, its edges carved with intricate runes. "Is that it?" he asked. Cyrana nodded. "If the texts are correct, that's the entrance to the sanctuary." The group approached the archway cautiously, their footsteps silent on the moss-covered ground. The air grew cooler as they neared, the scent of damp stone and earth filling their lungs. Cyrana stopped just short of the entrance, her hand resting on the carved surface of the arch. "These runes," she said quietly, "they're warnings. The Keepers didn't want this place disturbed." Orlen's stomach twisted at her words, but Adric stepped forward, his staff raised. "If the shadows are after us, this might be the only place we're safe," he said. Cyrana hesitated, her hand brushing against the hilt of her blade. "Then we'd best be ready," she said. Without another word, she stepped beneath the arch, disappearing into the darkness beyond. Orlen and Adric followed close behind, the faint glow of Cyrana's lantern illuminating the rough-hewn walls of a tunnel that sloped downward into the earth. Calen lingered at the entrance for a moment, his eyes wide with fear, before he took a shaky breath and stepped inside. As the light of the outside world faded behind them, Orlen couldn't help but feel that they were leaving more than just the hills behind. They were crossing into a place where the past still lived, waiting to be uncovered. The tunnel stretched endlessly into the earth, its walls carved from ancient stone that seemed to pulse faintly with an unseen energy. The air grew colder as they descended, carrying the scent of damp moss and something older, something that smelled of forgotten places and time-worn secrets. Orlen kept close to Cyrana's lantern, its flickering glow casting long shadows that danced on the walls. Behind him, Adric's staff tapped rhythmically against the stone floor, a steady sound that offered some comfort in the silence. Calen lagged at the back, his footsteps hesitant, as though each step was a battle against the fear that gripped him. The tunnel finally opened into a vast chamber, its ceiling lost in darkness. Cyrana held the lantern high, revealing smooth stone walls adorned with carvings that shimmered faintly, their shapes shifting as the light moved. Spirals, arcs, and runes intertwined, telling a story that seemed just out of reach, like the whisper of a half-remembered dream. Orlen stepped forward, his eyes wide as he took in the sheer scale of the place. "What is this?" he breathed. Cyrana didn't answer immediately, her gaze fixed on the carvings. "A place of memory," she said at last. "The keepers built these sanctuaries not just to hide, but to remember. These walls hold their stories, their warnings." Adric approached one of the carvings, his fingers brushing lightly over its surface. "It's beautiful," he said, his voice reverent, "but also haunting, as if they knew something terrible was coming." Cyrana nodded, her expression grim. The keepers believed in preparation above all else. They left these sanctuaries for those who might come after them, but only those deemed worthy would find them. She turned to Calen, who stood frozen near the entrance, his face pale. "You've seen the shadows," she said. "What else do you know?" Calen hesitated, his eyes darting to the carvings. "They're looking for something," he whispered. "I don't know what, but it's tied to places like this. I've felt their pull, like a thread tugging at me, leading me here." Before Cyrana could respond, the faint sound of dripping water echoed through the chamber. Orlen turned sharply, his heart pounding as the sound grew louder. "What is that?" he asked, his voice tight. Cyrana raised her lantern, scanning the edges of the room. The light fell on a doorway set into the far wall, its frame carved with intricate symbols that glowed faintly. "It's coming from there," she said. Without waiting, she stepped toward the doorway, her movements purposeful but cautious. The passage beyond the doorway sloped downward again, the air growing colder still. The sound of water became a steady trickle, and soon they emerged into a smaller chamber where a shallow pool glistened under the lantern's light. The water was impossibly clear, its surface reflecting the carvings on the walls above. Cyrana knelt by the pool, her hand hovering over the water but not touching it. "This is the heart of the sanctuary," she said softly. "The keepers called it the Mirror of Memory." Orlen approached, his curiosity outweighing his unease. "Why is it called that?" Cyrana gestured for him to look closer. "See for yourself." Orlen leaned over the pool, his reflection staring back at him, but as he watched, the image began to shift. The surface rippled, and scenes unfolded, visions of Green Hill Vale, of the Crossroads Inn, of the shadow that had pursued them. He gasped, pulling back instinctively. "It shows—" He trailed off, unable to find the words. Cyrana nodded. "It shows what lies beneath. Your past, your fears, your truths. The keepers used it to test those who sought their knowledge." Adric knelt beside the pool, his gaze fixed on the water. "What do we do now?" he asked. Cyrana stood, her expression resolute. "We need to understand what the relics are telling us. This sanctuary holds more than memories. It holds answers, but the shadows won't wait forever. We have to move quickly." She turned to Calen, who lingered near the doorway, his face unreadable. "You've been drawn here for a reason. The mirror may show you what that is." Calen hesitated, his hands trembling. "What if I don't want to know?" he asked. Before Cyrana could answer, a low hum filled the air, the same ominous vibration they had heard in Renhold. The carvings on the walls began to glow brighter, their light pulsating like a heartbeat. "They've found us," Adric said, his voice tight. Cyrana drew her blade, her eyes scanning the room. "We're not trapped yet," she said, "but we have to act." Orlen felt the warmth of the ring in his pocket, its energy pulsing in time with the light on the walls. "What about the mirror?" he asked. "Does it hold anything that can help us?" Cyrana glanced at the pool, her jaw tightening. "It holds what we bring to it," she said. "But whatever we find, we'll need to face it, together." The hum grew louder and the faint sound of whispers filled the air. Shadows began to coalesce at the edges of the room, their forms shifting and fluid. Calen backed away, his eyes wide with terror. "I can't," he said, his voice trembling. "I can't face them." Adric placed a steadying hand on his shoulder. "You're not alone," he said, firmly. The first shadow lunged toward them, its form stretching unnaturally as it closed the distance. Cyrana stepped forward, her blade flashing as she struck out, the shadow recoiling with a screech. Orlen gripped the ring tightly, its warmth filling him with a strange mix of fear and determination. "What do we do?" he shouted. Cyrana didn't look back. "Hold the line," she said, "and trust the mirror. It's our only chance." As the battle raged around him, Orlen felt the pull of the mirror drawing him closer. The water shimmered, its surface reflecting the chaos of the room, but also something deeper, a light that pulsed in the depths, calling to him. Taking a shaky breath, he stepped forward, his reflection rippling as his hand touched the water.